Lifters, this is Weed. Presentation number 5 on free weights versus machine weights and looking at the advantages and disadvantages of each of those. If you recall from the previous lesson on why we lift the way that we lift, the science behind the set and rep schemes that I have created for the class, can you evaluate the science and theory for cycle 1, 2, and 3 and the rep schemes that go along with that? Determine your optimal training load using sets, reps, volume, recovery, and time under tension. If you recall, I said in that presentation that we all have biological uniquenesses to us, and even though there is a science, there is also an art form and understanding which works best for us. And how do you do that? Well, you just have to go through and spend a month, 4 to 6 weeks or something like that, using a set and rep scheme and a program, and then determine how successful that is. But if you start doing a program and you switch after 3 days because you don't get the results that you want, no one gets results in 3 days, then you're never going to know what works best for you to optimize that. And then identify your personal training age and best adjust to maximize your training for that. So today's lesson, the objectives are compare and contrast the benefits and limitations of free weight versus machine weight training. Evaluate what are the best training implements for various types of lifting. Recognize other weight training facts and evaluate the edge of your ability. So make it challenging but not difficult. And so if you think about this line right here is the edge of your ability. We're going to go with the last objective first. But when you train, and this is the bottom, and you come up to here, and you always train this level, what eventually happens to this edge of your ability? This is going to decrease down to here. And so this is now going to be the edge of your ability. And more than likely, because in the past practice, you have not trained to that, you have not bumped into the edge of your ability every once in a while, not every day. But if you don't challenge that on a regular basis, it's going to drop. So you train here, and again, this keeps on dropping. So is that the reason that as we age, our movement deteriorates because we never bump into that level of the edge of our ability? Or is it because of factors related to aging or injury or hormones or time or whatever that is? I don't know. But remember, if you want to keep that ability level high and push through that ability, if you're young and you want to keep on moving that, you got to bump into that every once in a while and say, oh, I can go higher than that. So there's different types of lifting, and there's a list of those. So what are your goals, and then how do you accomplish that? A lot of people, it's not on this, they train in the shotgun method. So they saw YouTube or their friend showed them this, and that's what they do this, and they just are all over the place. In our class, we are trying to have a set standard for cycle 1, cycle 2, cycle 3. And the different activities that you want to incorporate in a good training program. And we talked about a split routine last presentation. You want to be able to hinge, pull, squat, push, loaded carry, and rotate. If you have all of those in your training program, it's a good training program. Most people, if you go to a gym, and it's a weightlifting gym, they'll tell you how much they push. That would be the bench press. They might tell you how much they squat. Sometimes they'll talk about how much they hinge. Very rarely will they talk about, yeah, I can't do a pull-up, but I can kill the lat pull down. Not the same thing. So on the web page, we're not going to watch this in class. This guy's name, I think, is J.P. Sears. He's sarcastic. I enjoy his sense of humor. Just like everything, he's gotten political. You don't have to buy into his politics or anything else like this. But this video here is very funny. It's about functional training, and check it out. I think you might get a kick out of that. So machine exercises. There are 2 different types or more of machines, and so some of our machines are what are called cam. So you see this item right here, that is the cam. And so whoever created this machine, they had a person with their arm segment lengths and they determined this is what works best for this individual. And so they create this because our muscles don't pull at the same rate all of the time. Initiating movement, we are not as strong, and when the muscle starts to contract as fully, then we lose strength as well, because all of those actin and myosin cross fibrils have contracted, and you're no longer as strong with that because you can't pull anything else. So this is for that hypothetical person. Now, yes, you can adjust this seat down. As you can see, you might be able to adjust this forward and backwards, but still, if you're 6'8" and you sit on this machine, this was not made for you. If you're 5'2", same thing, probably not made for you. This is probably made based on a male, ladies. So yes, the patriarch is in full effect because of this. But they can only make the machine based on, more than likely, who's the most likely candidate to use that. If the average male is 5'9", then that's what they use. But maybe you're 5'9" male, but your arms, you can actually stand tall and touch your kneecaps. Well, guess what? This isn't going to work for you. Or maybe you have such short arms, you can't put your hands fully in your pocket. So again, this machine was not based on your bodily structures. We have two of these. We have the big cable crossover down by the dumbbell rack, and we also have the small one. And you see there are pulleys here. And the number of pulleys sometimes changes the amount of weight or what it feels like. Even between our two cable crossovers made by two different companies, 80 pounds on this machine feels different than 80 pounds on the other machine. So here are some advantages. It's better for beginner users since they are safer, unless of course you put your fingers between a weight stack and you slam your weights. It's time efficient, so it's easy to switch the weights from, 30 pounds to 40 pounds, or to adjust the seat up and down. It doesn't take very much skill or effort. There's not very much skill required, and you don't need a spotter. The disadvantage, if you look at our fitness center, and most of the stackable weights, the selectorized, where you have a pin, you put it where the weight is, that machine costs hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. And the bad news is that weight that I purchased, or that was purchased when I got there, it only does one thing. It does that machine, and that's it. The newer equipment that we have, the plate load machines, the leg curl and leg extension, both of those you have to grab a bumper and put the weight on it. And the reason why is because I can use that bumper all over the gym, where if it was a stackable weight, I'd be paying for that steel in one spot and one spot only. There's only a select amount of exercise that I can do. If you give me a dumbbell or a kettlebell or an Olympic bar and weights, I can do hundreds, if not thousands, of different exercises with those things. The machine does one thing one time, and it takes up a lot of space. And if you're into dynamic movement, this is not going to be beneficial whatsoever. So Olympic lift, dynamic and explosive, not going to happen. And machines come from, as we talked about in the first one, physical therapy and bodybuilding. And the purpose of therapy is to fix one body joint, not the whole system. And bodybuilding, the purpose of that is to get as much hypertrophy as possible. And if you remember, we talked about the 3 planes of movement: frontal, sagittal, and transverse. Any machine that you use is fixed axis, and it works on one plane only. Now, warning, if you get out of the correct plane, possibly doing free weights, you can injure yourself or someone else. So I'm not saying do that. So here's another video about Planet Fitness. Apologies to anyone who goes to Planet Fitness. That will be on the webpage. So free weights. They can be considered dumbbells, bars, plates, kettlebells, elastic bands, stability balls, medicine balls, or whatever else is out there. And this uses gravity and the range of motion. So these are some different areas that you can see. Huge dumbbell rack, a bunch of benches right here, a variety of types. These are called Olympic platforms. We don't have any of those, but you can see that there are bumpers here on the side, and you can do a number of things. All of them have pull-up bars and Very fancy, and notice how high this is. It looks like this is at West Virginia, since WV is West Virginia. And there's West Virginia right there, sorry. So advantages, it mimics real life and movement. We have multiple planes, and we also use accessory muscles. We're not isolating movement, which does not happen in real life. It helps to develop control of the weight and stabilization muscles. It can be asymmetrical, since human beings are asymmetrical. You have a variety of alternative exercises from those areas, and then you have a greater range of motion potentially. The disadvantage, it requires more skill. There's a higher risk of injury. Listen, when you're lifting with the machine, you don't have to worry about it dropping on your face. When you're doing dumbbells overhead, yeah, there's a risk it's going to drop you on your skull. Some require a spotter. And then there is equipment clutter as well. And that can be for machines. I mean, look at this picture right here of Planet Fitness. That's not very COVID safe right now, since we are in COVID. So regardless of what your training program is, as we talked previously one, if you do your training program with intensity and effort, even if it's a bad one, you'll at least make some gains. If you have the best program in the world, you paid lots of money, and you do it half-heartedly, you're not going to get the same results. Here is another video. This is from somewhere in Pennsylvania, and the white stuff at the end you'll see, that's called snow. So in real life, we have Earth's gravitational pull. We have 360 degrees of freedom. We have the frontal, sagittal, and transverse planes of movement. So which of these is more likely to replicate the real life movement that we have? Machines or free weight? If you're playing along at home, then you could do this. When you resistance train, what are you doing? So, what are your goals, and which of these types is best going to fit your goals and help you to reach your goals? Which is the easiest way to maximize time under tension? Probably machines, and that's why bodybuilders use a lot of machines. Because technique doesn't matter, you just crank on that machine, you don't have to worry about injuring yourself, and it's easier to strip on and off than using free weights. Trust me. Loading 405 pounds on a bar to do squats, it's going to take an exertional amount of effort just to load the bar without even squatting one set. So, can you compare and contrast the benefits and limitations of free weight versus machine weight training? We intentionally do not have a lot of machines. When I first got to Lone Star in fall of 2015, there were probably about 10 more machines than we currently have, and I got rid of those because someone put me in charge. What are the best training implements for your various types of lifting? That's why we have some kettlebell exercises. That's why we have some elastic bands, some stability balls, some dumbbell, maybe some straight bar, etc. So that you have the biggest bag of tools that you can take out into the future and be successful and use resistance training as your potential form of exercise and physical activity for the rest of your life. Recognize the best options for you to maximize your goals. And what's the edge of your ability? Will machines help your edge to you get to the edge of your ability? If you're thinking movement, probably not. So this ends number 5. Check to see when quiz number 1 opens, and you have 2 choices. Good luck with that. Ask me in class. Show up to the online office hours, student hours, or email me. Take care, move well, move often.